Okay, hey y'all, this is D.
All right, so yes, hey guys, this is C. What's up?
And this is
Black Meets World. So I gotta crank it up because sometimes D be coming in shading people. She be over here cutting up.
How is that
giving
even
all
relevant?
the eyes all?
Do you want to share your work story first?
Oh, this is a good one, y'all. So my old boss called me this afternoon, right before we left work, and this is my boss back in Atlanta. She said, "See, I got a story for you for your work stories today." I said, "Really? Really?" She said it's about GWGs, ghetto white girls. And she said it's a new breed that they are breeding in Atlanta. She said they date only specifically black men, black hood men at that. They got tattoos, they got big asses, like thick, like either they eat all the cornbread and the chitlins and everything else, or they over here getting work done. And they over here compete, they over here like will snap back on a black girl if she try to come correct. Like, oh, what you thought you was about to say to me? So she said she was talking about, she is like literally the director of this spa in Atlanta, a very, very high-end spa in Atlanta. And they were talking about having someone at the front desk as a receptionist. And they said, we need someone professional, someone who doesn't have an attitude, because the previous people they had attitudes. And they said, what about so-and-so? We'll just call her Amber. What about Amber? The race of Amber is Caucasian. And this other, GWG, ghetto white girl, said to my boss, who's an African-American woman, Amber? Oh, she blacker than you on any day.
Don't get me started.
I'll see y'all later.
My boss said she literally stopped what she was doing, had to pause, and looked at her hard and said, "Excuse me?" And she said, "Oh yeah, blacker than you on any day. Amber can't be at the front desk."
And what the hell that's supposed to mean?
Wow.
That she has more of an attitude? Oh, she can't be on the front desk because she's really black.
Because you know what black is.
Right. Or the fact that black is used as a verb.
Unprofessional, that's what it means.
Right.
Reminds me of Rupert Murdoch talking about how Ben Carson would be more black than the Obamas.
Right.
Get the entire hell out of here.
What is more black? What does black mean?
What is black?
Unprofessional, loud, attitude.
Right, exactly. That's what it means.
All the things you don't want in an employee.
And that's how you see that these GWGs are putting on a costume where they're doing certain things that means black to them, where we're having an attitude or being unprofessional. They think that's what black is.
Mind you, because Real Housewives.
Right, and mind you, my boss is like her boss. Like this is like her report who is saying this. Like, and she said it in a way like, it's almost like a compliment. Like,
she was comfortable.
You're not one of those black people.
You're an exception.
You're an exception because you have proper grammar.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's actually unbelievable that people actively still think like that and then express it. Like, you're not black enough for my stereotype of you.
Right.
Yo.
But referring to a white girl as blacker than you.
As blacker.
Right. Child.
Because you were the arbiter of what is considered black.
Anyway, but that was
because you're the arbiter. You better use your vocabulary.
I'm sorry, because I'm black.
She
and I know
needs to
words.
watch Blackish.
She needs to stay about our business. That's what she needs to do. Ain't no Blackish, ain't no nothing for her, because she's just looking for things that are black, and she's like, okay, this is what it is. This is
stereotypes.
This is what it is.
To justify.
Right, and then she
put
tries
an
to
Urban
find
Dictionary,
something and put it together and put a
But
mask
she
on for
needs
herself.
to see like different portrayals of blackness so that she understands that
She
it's
dates a
about
black man. She's probably gonna have
and that
she's
it's
gonna have some black children.
But she's still not gonna understand.
That doesn't work for some people though. When you're trying to do like that, like I have white friends all the time that I would like. It would benefit you for understanding black people, having black friends to see different perspectives of blackness, different people, different cultures, things like that, different ways people grew up.
Yeah.
It's beneficial to them. I don't think it's beneficial for a person like this.
I think sometimes that they only go and get one black friend sometimes.
No, but we fail to understand the reasoning why, right? Because attitude and appearance, and it's your swagger that they want.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Everybody want to be black until it's time to be black.
Not just black. They want your swagger because your confidence level is only 10, regardless of if you're wrong or not. Right? So, and they see that as a way of being accepted, right? And being protected in the circle. Because it's all about swagger. It has nothing to, and they date the black men because of their swagger. The gentleman that they date later on in life right? Because they flip that sometimes.
Yes, they
So
do.
Yeah.
they blonde, they become Becky instead of Amber, right? And they go back and they do their thing. They wear get their tattoo removed and they do all that other stuff. But it's about your swagger, and they want your swagger. They want your attitude. They want it all, right? Because what they have right now or at home is not what's appealing in mass culture.
Right.
So mass culture says, you know what? Big booties are in, and you winning. Ain't nothing like a brother, right? Ain't nothing like being black. Till we start segregating.
Well, and I
Till we
think
start,
even further, they want it when it's convenient for them.
Right.
I think that's the,
Hey, Rachel.
But I think if somebody says to me, I'm blacker than you.
Oh yeah.
That would be like.
I give them whenever I get that, I give them all the intelligent shade, and I make them tell me what they mean by
What does
that.
that mean? I'm
Right.
sorry, can you elaborate?
I give them and
Because
they
there's
can
nothing
never
wrong with being
tell
black
me.
and educated. That doesn't make you not as black as the next person.
No, 'cause you're not
And what
gonna-
does as black
I
mean?
want them
Right.
You got
Right.
What does that mean to you? And where did you learn that from?
Is
Who
black
taught
my
you that?
complexion? Does it
Right.
mean my attitude,
Your hood
my
cred?
personality?
Am I more
the
tan than you are?
stereotypes
Right.
that they associate with being black.
Right.
That's all it is.
Right.
And it's crazy because I will say this in the context and in the comfort of other black people. Like, oh, we was doing some real N-word-ish type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like you understand what I'm saying when I say it. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
As opposed to like,
And those are the people that you just said. There's some real N-word shit. Those are the people they relate to. Right? So we have to stop
right?
co-signing
Yes,
on that.
we do.
Right?
Because it's American
We
culture.
pass it on. Right? As opposed to saying, what?
Jesus.
Let's do something different. You know?
I
It's
completely.
written in
And
our
guarantee
culture.
they
Well,
gonna
that's
name
why
their,
they should watch Blackish, because there's an episode.
they're gonna name their kid, Shaniqua S or Draquan or something that has syllables in it, right? So, or a bunch of different syllables in it, and it's gonna be cute, right? Because all of them name is Dre.
I mean, it's a French name, people. All right.
I'm done.
Right.
Throw that accent on
Accent.
that E, and you good.
Throw that ass in a circle. Go
I'm
ahead.
through.
You better mix.
Andre Agassi.
So
What is the?
Andre Agassi. So we have actually. So shout out to a listener who sent us a work story.
Okay.
First of all, we actually might make this part of our maybe listener correspondence piece, and we want you guys to send us your work stories that you have. So this comes from Miss Sick of This Shit. We would call her.
Oh my God, that is a screen
relate.
name for that ass. I love it.
Miss Sicker.
Miss Sick of this shit. Take no more. Sorry.
So it says, here's my story. I'm a 28-year-old HBCU graduate who moved to New York 5 years ago to follow my dream of pursuing a career in media and entertainment.
God, that's me.
My first year in the city was pretty rough as I went from unpaid internships to low-grade jobs just trying to get some experience. Finally, I landed a job at a prestigious media company. I was super excited to hit the ground running. I must admit the first month or so was smooth sailing. I was enthusiastic, inquisitive, blah, blah, blah. Then the shit hit the fan. I was in a sales environment, which can be super competitive, but I realized my supervisor was, in fact, just an asshole. One situation in particular involved me not being able to make it to an after-work event as I was on my way out of the city for homecoming. Now, if you went to an HBCU, you know homecoming is a must, especially the first 2 or 3 years after graduation. It's
All the years.
It's a time to reconnect, rejuvenate, and get away from your adult life. I will admit that I made the rookie mistake of mentioning going to my school's homecoming and would in fact miss the work event. I informed him days in advance. He immediately went and told our manager above she can't make it to the event Friday because she's going to homecoming. She has such a busy social life.
Oh, the shade.
Yeah, I ignored him for that and kept it moving. Then he informs me, well, since this is a work event, you will need to take a vacation day. I didn't understand why I needed to take a day for an event that happened at 6 p.m. when I worked the whole day.
Right.
But at this point, I'm not even in the mood to argue. I ask him what the procedure is, and he gives me very vague directions, saying that it has to go through HR, the management, etc. This is the Friday before I'm about to leave when he drops this on me. I'm going into frantic mode because I'm leaving in 3 hours. I go down to HR and state my story and explain that I need a vacation day approval sheet. HR looks at me and says, "What day?" I said, "Today." She says, "Why?" I said, "Because my manager insists that if I miss this event, etc., etc."
Wow.
Here's the kicker. She doesn't have the approval sheet. She says, "Oh, your manager should have it." I head back down to my manager's office with the best professional face I can muster and explain HR says he must have the paper. He casually leans behind him, pulls out the approval paper that he had the entire time. This is the type of man I'm dealing with. I had many separate instances with the company, including managers throwing employees under the bus and the old boys club mentality. AEs stealing accounts, the works. I decided after 6 months this environment wasn't for me and started looking for another job.
Sounds like that.
Unfortunately or fortunately, as I saw it, I was laid off, but vowed to never put myself in that type of situation again. So then there's a second part to the story. Fast forward 3 years and I'm in my professional groove. I know she's been doing some freelance stuff for a year and she loves it. She gets an offer to work with one of the biggest black magazines on the country. Once again, I won't say the name, but it's on your mama's coffee table right now.
I love it.
I was beyond excited. A place with women who all look like me, speak like me. It was a black excellence every day. The first 3 months, once again, smooth sailing. Then here comes the bullshit. I work with 2 managers, and one was a delight. Funny, understanding, blah, blah, blah. My other manager was not as welcoming, but I was okay with that. Everyone is not Susie Sunshine. One of my main responsibilities was expenses. My one supervisor was really good about giving me receipts. The other one was not. I asked her literally for 3 straight months, could you give me a chance, give me these receipts so I can do the expenses, blah, blah, blah. Finally, my company was going into some restructuring, and one major personal obligation was that they needed to tie up expenses. She comes with a stack of unorganized receipts, pasted on some paper, an Amex bank statement, and little instructions. Here's the expenses. We need to get this done before tonight because I'm traveling tomorrow. I get to it and realize her expenses are done manually as opposed to being generated in the system like everyone else. I do my best to organize, but I have receipts that have no explanations. The receipts are out of order. Some of them are 6 months ago. It was a shit show to say the least. Blah, 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 blah. Basically, the point is she goes through all this shit. She has to redo a bunch of them. She's there until 12:30 a.m. Ooh. And then the next morning she gets reprimanded for basically not doing it correctly. She's all upset basically because there's a problem with the expenses. And then she says her final straw was that she had a 20-minute conversation about it, a FedEx box that went out on a Wednesday morning instead of a Tuesday night because her boss gave it to her at 5:30 and the mailroom closes at 5. So basically, she was just saying that she was really fed up, blah, blah, blah.
Can we get to the answer to the question?
Because you can hold a chicken like, I'm sorry.
So basically,
so essentially, your question.
My question is, so there's more to the story. Basically, there's other instances. My question is, do you think I could have handled these situations differently at work? And
no, not.
When is enough and time to fire your employer and get a new job?
Enough is enough the first time. Don't keep having yourself go through so much shit
because
exactly. Don't wait till somebody treats you where you can't take it anymore, where you've reached your fill.
So question.
Let's be real.
Question.
They go to their homecomings too.
But let's just a quick question. If you had the homecoming example, what would you say to your manager in order to deal with it differently to get a different outcome?
I just wouldn't say anything. I can't be there.
Her message, she messed up when she was, you don't owe them to tell them where you're going after work for leave. Right. I will not be able to make it.
That's what I'm saying.
I had a prior obligation and a discussion.
Yeah.
And I worked a full day.
Yeah.
But was she supposed to go to the event?
It was not stated. It just said that she was missing the work event because she had planned to go to homecoming.
But again, was she supposed to be at the work
weeks in advance, and they never told her that until the day.
Well, also, does work event mean leisure overall going to happy hour, or does work event mean she was supposed to be doing something at the was it a premiere party and she's on the media relations?
Right.
Exactly.
So
the way she described just says after work event.
Okay.
So either way, for me, if it's a real event where she should be working, she would have known about it and could have scheduled accordingly. If it's less formal, I think definitely Sloan's approach of I have a prior engagement, I can't be there.
Totally depends.
Yeah, because if I'm going to play an actual work event, then she could have scheduled to leave at a later time to go to homecoming or wherever she has to go.
Because it sounds like she was working in ad sales at least.
I'm just gonna be I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Socially, white people overshare, right? They're like, oh, what are you doing after work? Well, I'm gonna go hang out with some buddies. You might get a little wasted, you know. That is just a cultural thing, and because white people are the majority of corporate America, they run what is considered as like corporate culture, right?
Because they can.
Read.
Right.
Read.
So in the context of being at work and people probing, right? Because I know I'm guilty of this, right? Because I know when people ask me, like, oh, what'd you do this weekend? I had to learn to say, like, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Because I'll go into a full detail of, like, wait, you want to know that I went to, like, a Rat's Grits and Biscuits party, and I was, like, turning it over real quick.
They might not need to
You
know
were on
that.
the stage with Trina?
I was with Trina backstage.
They might not need to know that.
Or I flew down to Atlanta and went to the Hip Hop Awards this past weekend, and y'all didn't know.
Oh, no, or I went to a music festival, you know.
Right. And by music festival.
You have to be general. You cannot be detailed.
Right.
Enough
and I had to
know
learn
who you are as a person.
Right. And I had to learn that over time, right? Because I'm a very, like, I'm a sharer.
So you don't ask for questions.
Right. No, but see, people will ask you questions. Like, they'll be very like,
that was last episode.
What kind of music was it? What was the festival about? Or what was, you know? And I learned to be like, oh, you know, this artist that, you know, is popular. I would just be very general.
You have to be big.
But when you're with a person who's like, if you respect your manager and you probably thought you could respect them, and you're like, oh, what are you doing after work? Like, oh, you know, I'm going to, you know, because you're proud of your HBCU. You're proud, like, I'm going to Howard's homecoming tonight. Like, obviously, like, this is a big event. Like, and they're like, homecoming? You missing a work event for homecoming? Like, to them,
you got to know your audience is the point.
I agree, but what I'm saying is,
because they do the same.
What's your point that you're making? I'm sorry.
Culturally speaking, we don't share a lot of what we do personally, but when a person tries to bring you in and make you feel comfortable to share the way they share, and then they actually flip it on you and then like judge you and like actually like penalize you for it.
Right.
I don't even think it's a cultural thing because Black people do it at my job. Like, I've learned that even with the slightest little things, like, oh, how do you get your eyebrows like that and everything? They'll use it against you to hate. You know what I mean? Like, any little thing. And so,
as long be decked out.
Like, honey, you be general. Like, if I get dressed up for work, I'm the type of person I like to get dressed up for work. Yeah. I like presenting myself in a certain way. And other people, Black, white, whatever, they take it as, oh, she's full of herself. She must spend a lot. Like, they form all these impressions of who you are, what you're doing, and everything. So my general rule is you keep it real basic, real neutral. They're not your friends. These are your coworkers.
Right. You gotta know.
The less they know, the better.
So what I said, I think still applies. You gotta know your audience.
Yeah.
If you're talking to your coworkers, you need to keep it cordial, but not intimate. Say what you. Oh, I have a prior engagement. Oh, I'm about to go. But
what if we were coworkers?
Girl, we are coworkers and we're friends, and it's different.
Okay.
You gotta know that. You gotta know who you're talking to. I'm gonna tell OG things I'm not gonna tell the people I sit next to. Right. It's entirely different.
Please, y'all.
My boss is cool. I mean, I took off on Friday because I did go to homecoming, but I took the day off, so who cares?
She wrote a whole essay about her bosses, and so obviously you know what you're dealing with. So start acting accordingly.
But again, people don't always tell everything in their story. They tell their side.
Right.
What about the other people's side? Who see you coming in late every day? Right.
Yes.
And now you want to leave early.
Okay.
See, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot more stuff to it,
true.
and nobody wants to poo-poo her story. But we have to take ownership of our own shit because we do a lot of self-destructive stuff. Right? You need to prepare yourself. If you leaving on Friday, Monday through Thursday, you
need to be busting ass,
busting your ass.
Early,
and you need to remind
late.
people that I am not going to be here on Friday. Or at Friday, I'm leaving. I got to leave early.
Don't forget your out of the office message.
You put that up. You have to prepare yourself.
Have your little transition email ready to go.
And the thing about it is, with her new boss, you have to manage expectations and manage up.
Right.
Do you have any expense reports due because I'm leaving on such and such a day? I know you're going on a trip. Do I need? So there's other things that can be done that she did not do. Right. Don't blame the messenger. You got to look at yourself. You could have given a fucked up message.
Now, granted, she said it was her first job out of school.
Right. She did admit some things that were wrong. I think part of it, is adjusting to corporate life and also like OG said, you gotta do more, especially for people of color. But in general, when you're new in the business, you have to do more than is required of you.
Right.
And so, let's say, for example, with the package example, it's like, oh, you know the mailroom closes, so at 4:30, maybe if you know that your boss is going to be late with things, that's when you start asking, hey, is there something you need me to drop off?
Because I know how she is.
Right. And there's always, I guess there's a lesson to be learned from all of these things, and so, the first initial, like, it's a struggle.
You gotta be proactive, you can't
and
be
the third thing is, don't quit
Right.
your fucking job. If you always keep your resume fresh, you should be actively looking for a new job. That's all, but don't quit your job. Don't get your ass on your shoulders. Take your lumps and go on about your business. Collect your check.
Yes.
OG with that wisdom, though.
Get
that money, though.
Don't keep your money flowing.
Yes, my mom always had, don't you leave a job.
Till you have a job.
Don't be getting upset. Just eat that. And go on about your business.
Yeah.
Are you right? I apologize. I'll do better. That's it. Taking ownership in your mistakes shows growth.
Right.
Most people don't do this, and I've been in management a long time.
And it helps you to grow.
Oh my God.
Right.
And I understand her expecting the best out of people, expecting people to be reasonable, expecting people to understand her situations, expecting her boss not to be a dickhead and be like, oh, I got the papers right here.
Right.
I understand her expecting decency from everybody, but you have to understand that everybody is not going to give you that. Right. And you have to act accordingly to keep your ass in check, to make sure you're not under the bus because somebody else is a dick.
But again, even though her boss did not, there's other stories. There's a back end to that story.
You think there's
he
another
knows
side?
you're going somewhere, and he knows what's happening, and he's excited for you to go because nobody really wants you to be upset. Nobody wants to keep you from having joy. But you got to do shit that's right. And if you are a horrible employee, I'm gonna make it hard for you. I'm gonna make you want to quit.
Right.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I've had experiences at my job where I have bosses that are like really hard on me for no reason because that's just the type of bosses they are. They want, a tip-top shape environment and stuff like that. And even when I came in, people were like telling me like, don't give them attitudes, like, shit that I already know. But this is my thing. I have a boss that everybody's like, she's really, really hard. She's really strict. This is what people say about her. That doesn't faze me. I'm not about to treat somebody differently or act differently because other people don't like you. So I started experiencing who she is. I started experiencing her as a boss. And she's on my ass. She's telling me to do this, do that, do this in a certain way. And I'm like, sure thing. This is where I messed up. I'll fix it. That's just how I operate. And she's even taking me into the office like, well, you need to do this, and that. And y'all, I'm not a bad worker. I go over and above with whatever I do. And she is the type of person where maybe she wasn't here that day when I was going above and beyond. Maybe she was here when I was on a bad day and she want to get into my ass just to make sure that I know that I need to be doing certain things to keep a job here. Maybe that's the type of mood she in. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And I had that attitude my whole job, and now we're like buddies.
Right.
Everybody else is like, she's a bitch, she's always mean to me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, when she gives me an order, I'm like, sure thing. And I do it, and then I do a little bit more. And then she has no problem. She's like, this is done very well, thank you. And we have a beautiful communication at work.
That's good.
I think people lose sight of the fact that the people they work for are not your friends.
Yeah.
They're your employees.
Right.
They pay your salary. They're not your homie. That's not who you going to homecoming with. That's not who you gonna be hanging out on Saturday night with.
Right.
So I completely agree with everything that Kelly just said. Like, at some point, it's time for you to man up to the situation as opposed to firing your employer. And it also doesn't look good on your resume and certain things if you're consistently leaving, because you're not going to have the perfect boss.
But even with my boss, people say things about her. I don't even think she's like a cunt. You know how people say, but she's just very matter of fact and she wants things done. No, somebody called her disgusting one day. Like, because she came in and she was like, people were complaining about like, if you're in a certain section or whatever in the restaurant, you have more work to do than other sections. People were like, we don't feel that's fair because this section is blah, blah, blah. And she came back, she was like, stop complaining. It's what you have to do. It's going to be that way forever. Stop complaining. It's done. And then she walked out.
Okay, so, Madam Miss Pope just joined us.
Whoop. Hey, Miss Pope.
Hey, girl.
Good evening.
So yeah, I think. Go ahead. You can.
Yeah. So just to make a long story short, I request time off. She gives me my time off, and I get the hell out of there, and I come back, do what I'm supposed to do. Don't give her attitude. Like.
Right.
So I feel like the way we communicate, she doesn't give me problems because I don't give her problems.
I just think there's something to be said for that.
As opposed to managing down, you're managing up. You're saying, okay,
I'm
look,
gonna do this so
I'll do what I need to
this.
do in order to get what I need to get. But everybody needs to learn that skill because it is a skill. We very rarely get taught that.
Right.
So all we know is, they tell us the pie in the sky. You go to this school, you get this degree, you get this job. Okay, what about all the other shit that goes along with that, right? About how to manage up, how to manage expectations, how to do your job, and not take everything personal. Right. And we are very personal people, right? Because we take shit to the heart. Like you offended me, right? As opposed to this, you just said some shit. Okay, what's next? That's it. Corrective criticism. All right, great. Something to work on.
I don't take nothing personal, but when a person has too much time on their hands, and you want to micromanage me, even though I'm doing an excellent job, you need to get a life.
Anyway, I mean, you work with the situation, and that's the point. It's like you can't just leave because you're upset. You got to figure out how to navigate.
I have an exit plan. Don't worry about that. But it just
and have an exit plan. Have a plan B, but don't just leave because you're upset. Leave with some intention. Leave with a second job lined up, and also figure out what you did in that situation that you can improve on, so that in your next situation you don't have to struggle.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, don't miss the growth opportunity.
Oh yeah, I had to pray about it.
So thank you to our listener for her work story. Please continue to send work stories in. I think we're gonna try and incorporate that.
I like that.
So, so who watched the presidential debate?
I've been missing all the debates.
The Democratic,
Democratic or Republican.
I mean, Republican too, I guess.
I mean, the Republican one is more entertaining.
It's more entertaining. Yeah. Oh, girl, did you get a glass?
This is 6%.
We've been drinking. If you heard us pour,
this is 11%. I bought this without knowing it was 6%.
6%.
That's 11.
This one's 11.
We've gone through our third bottle of 11%. As OG Mike continues to sip on his honey jack.
You don't mess with honey jack. You just
not even chill, just straight room temperature.
Right.
He didn't get cold. It was outside.
No rocks.
It was outside.
No rocks.
Jack's no rocks. Okay, so the presidential debate. I think this is important to talk about because we kind of mentioned when we first actually started this podcast, people were still announcing that they were running.
Isn't that crazy?
And that was 10, 11 episodes ago, which is absurd to me. So what I liked most about the debate was that the Democratic debate was that they actually talked about politics. As opposed to the Republican debate where it was mostly just like a character, it was just character attacks.
Right.
But my favorite part of the debate, which is, I mean, we can talk about more of it if y'all want, but my favorite was...
Was it also my favorite part? I don't know.
Probably. When they asked, do Black Lives Matter or do all lives matter? And they posed that question to each candidate. What was your favorite?
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. And Uncle Stepdad Bernie.
He came to my job the other day, y'all. He's so sweet.
Bernie, man.
I really like him.
Can we do a Clinton Bernie ticket? That's what I'm trying to do.
Right, like I wouldn't be upset with that. What I didn't like was that they didn't ask the same questions to the Republicans and the Democrats. And obviously all the Democrats were going to say something positive about like Black Lives Matter or whatever. And like the Republicans obviously were going to stumble through that question. So, I don't know, Jim Webb, who's like a governor for Virginia or something, or senator, he was just like, well, all lives matter, but black people, blah, blah, blah. I was like, dog.
He talked about his one black encounter. Yes, his one black friend. Like, after, I was like, did he really just basically say, I have one black friend?
How did he say it?
I mean, how he said it, that he could have just said, I have like one black friend and he's great. Wow. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but all lives matter because
I got one friend.
Because he was saying that like he represented some guy that was an ex-vet who was a war criminal and then he died and then he cleared his name 3 years later and like that's why Black Lives Matter. Like I was like, huh?
Because of one black person that you've experienced. That's so stupid.
Right. And so there was, I mean, and that's the thing, like, Bernie actually basically Bernie said Sandra Bland's name on television. Good. And I was with that. Like, he was just like, you know, because black people understand that, like, Sandra Bland, you know, people's families are getting broken up, that any given time, things can happen to black people, and it's just because of their race. Literally, that's what he said. Hillary's a little more political about it, and then the rest of them I literally can't even remember.
That's the one thing I will say about Bernie, though. He seems so genuine to me. Like, he doesn't even care. He just says what he really feels. You know, there's like, forget all the political BS. Like, let me just tell you how I'm feeling in this moment.
Right. Because Anderson Cooper asked Hillary about her emails. Because, you know, they're doing an investigation about her emails.
So that was my favorite.
Oh, hell yeah.
That was
and Bernie,
when they tag teamed and like went in on that email shit, that was my favorite.
Bernie was like, let's be honest, we're all tired of hearing about your damn emails. And then him and Hillary like shook hands and I was like, Thank you.
Yes.
So wait, back to the Black Lives Matter though.
Yes.
Okay.
So
I need that ticket.
Webb starts off with, he said the black situation.
Who said this?
Jim Webb.
Jim Webb.
Thank you for
He said the situation
week.
of African Americans. We're a situation to him.
Wow.
So
he lost me right there. I was like, oh, we're a situation.
Yeah.
It's just a temporary thing.
Huh?
Was he ever in consideration?
No.
So there's 5 candidates. Jim Webb is from Virginia.
Really relevant.
They're not relevant.
Bernie Sanders is Bernie Sanders. If y'all don't know who that is, by now
You need to wake up.
You need to pay attention.
Right.
Hillary Clinton, Lincoln Chafee, who's from Chafee, sorry, who's from Vermont or Connecticut, Rhode Island, somewhere in the Northeast.
Who I actually like, but
he just had he had the worst.
Yeah.
He was the worst debater of
He
all
just
of
had
them.
a terrible delivery of
He
everything.
basically said, I voted for this whatever because I was new. I didn't know what was going on. I just laid a vote.
Yeah.
Oh my.
He gave Anderson asked him why he voted for something that basically backfired, and he was just like, it was my first day at this, and we were all just like, okay.
Excuses of it.
And then what's his name? O'Malley?
Yeah, Martin O'Malley.
Martin O'Malley. I actually liked
Who
him.
I fucks with from
Maryland, right?
From
Maryland. I liked him because
problem.
even at the end, he was like, the thing that y'all need to take away from this is that the Democrats talked about politics and the Republicans talked about each other.
Get to
And it was really cool because I was like, that was a party politic move. Like, even if he's not going to win or even if he's not really at the head of the running, like, he put on for the Democrats, which I appreciated. What I thought was interesting, though, was like the one question to Hillary about basically how Bill passed all those laws with the war on drugs and mass incarceration and all that stuff. And she was kind of just like, hindsight is 20/20. At the time, we thought we were doing the right thing.
We were just following the presidency that was before us.
Yeah, and I kind of was just like, I get that because that's life, but at the same time, it's just like.
But it was all politics. You think about what was happening at the time.
Right.
Crack. So
exactly.
We're talking about
it was ruining
1992,
communities.
Ruining communities. So what they did was say, okay, look, crack kills more people generationally than incarceration.
Right.
That was wrong, right? Because crack really wasn't, because it was a scientist who actually did a study, and crack really wasn't that addictive or that detrimental to a society. It was taking people out of the community, which was worse.
Dismantling the
families, which was worse
Right.
than the attack on drugs. It is a systemic, ongoing trap that we can't get out of, because now you've taken grown men out of the community. What's left? Right? Raging elephants or young elephants running around doing all kind of horrific
You can't destroy
You dismantle the family unit.
You dismantle the community because you don't have people to check them.
Right.
Crack if there's nobody to destroy.
And then if they're poor, how you think they're trying to get an income? What else they gonna do?
Right.
They have no education. They have no resources.
And so the circle of.
And then you have quick money that's coming in by selling what? Okay.
And then not only that, like during Clinton's terms, like that was one of the biggest overhaul of entitlements. Mm-hmm. Like that's when they put in like, you had to work X amount of hours to even get the money to do whatever you need to do or whatever. And so you took away the fathers, they're all in jail.
Now
and
the
then
mothers.
Now you're saying, okay, in order for you to even get this,
benefits,
food stamp or WIC or whatever, you have to work X amount of hours. Now the kids are governing themselves because you have to make up these hours to make ends meet with the government assistance.
And they also hurt you in terms of like the fines and the parole things and stuff that you have to pay for after you get out of jail.
So many years,
It's just ridiculous. Like people who get out of jail literally are in a cycle of like paying in debt and all this stuff.
Money.
Jail does cost money, and taxpayer money at that.
That's why the reentry rate's so high.
It's so high because you put these people in a box.
We're the most progressive country in the world that has the highest incarceration.
Highest incarceration rate. Highest police killing rate. Highest conviction rate of people of color. I mean, it's absurd the numbers that we have in this country.
There was a documentary on this channel called HBO, and they had this thing called toe tag parole, and they were basically talking about how there's like a community of people who were like in prison for life, and how there's no progressive country in the world that would put somebody in jail for life for a crime they committed when they were 18, and now they're 68. and they're still in jail.
And it's like low-level drug offenses.
Right. And it's for non-violent crimes. Right,
exactly.
And the fact that, like, okay, they've lived out this sentence, they've learned from what they've done, but now taxpayers are paying $60,000 a year for this one inmate to be basically penalized for what they've done.
Right. So, I mean, speaking of drugs and just the struggle, we can either transition to Lamar Odom, or we can...
Oh, Lamar. Rest in peace to Lamar's friends. His friends, his happiness.
About Lamar, because
you know, so
it ties in. His father was an addict.
Right.
So you have, like, your patriarch of your family already gone.
And his mom died when he was young.
His mom died of cancer. Right. Then he's being raised by his grandmother. Yeah. And, you know, grandparents, their generation versus Lamar's generation, that's two different generations. Like, he's out here basically raising himself.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, he's thrust into this pop culture famous Kardashian thing.
That's on the back end.
You're drafted in the NBA.
And
you have access to all this money.
Exactly.
No kind of financial training or anything like that. You're just out here spending all willy-nilly. Right. You already had your problems
but he ain't broke.
prior. No. I'm not saying he's broke. But I'm saying now he has access
What's his worth?
I think it was $48 million.
Oh, Lord. Still, $48 million left. He was paying over 200 people's phone bill.
Yeah.
He was doing, like, there were other things he was responsible for.
Right.
Who?
He was having, like, a family, friends.
Everyone.
He just put it out there.
Yeah, no.
Right?
I remember that.
So he was.
He also has like
money.
6 children.
Yeah.
No.
Look.
Just for.
Four.
He's from Queens.
Fun fact.
He has a lot.
I just know 2.
And 2 of his friends died. Like one from drug. I can't know for sure. Like one from drugs. It was like an infection from needles.
As of right now, his life insurance policy is worth about $10 million. But the height of his NBA career, he was estimated at $100 million.
Yeah.
Wow. So he's like $48 million.
He's won championships. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was on the Lakers. Like, he's played for good teams, and he just basically couldn't keep it together. Now, I don't know if that has anything to do.
But he was traded. His home life was steady. And then you shook him up and traded him away for what?
Exactly.
To bring somebody else in? And it
but
I think
then the Clippers started winning in the Lakers.
No.
But if you...
He left after that. He went to Miami.
If you found, like, a pseudo-family, you don't have a family, and your pseudo-family is the Lakers, and you fostered relationships outside of your team, like, Kobe Bryant is your real friend.
Right.
Obviously, he showed up, he left the exhibition game to go to his hospital bedside. This is your real family. And your real family says, okay, it's business.
You gotta go.
We're trading you. You're on the table for the trades. It's kind of like, that fuck up your whole mind. Like, wait, I thought I was a part of the family. Like, what's going on? I was 6th man of the year last year. Like,
I won 2 championships.
Am I that dispensable? Is that how life works? Like, everyone's leaving me?
They were trying to bring in different people. Right. So it was about which piece can you get the most value for?
Right.
But I've also heard that, like, he's had a drug problem for a really long time. They were privy to this information, so they probably traded. We don't know why they traded him.
Yeah, we don't.
Like we knew this before he even got drafted.
He's had that.
Was it the Bulls? I think was it the Bulls or the Knicks? He disclosed that he smoked weed before all his college.
When he first got drafted.
Before he got drafted, and so that was a deal breaker for them. Like, okay, that's a red flag. You're already into drugs, and you're about to be in the league with all this money that's about to come your way.
Yeah. And now basically his entire reputation. I mean, he'll never come back from this.
Then all his shit's on TV.
Right, that's what
and he gonna go on Ayanna Van Zandt. Yep. He's gonna be all right.
Get his life fixed.
They're gonna write a book. They're gonna make a what's that? They're gonna make a document.
This is Kris Jenner's master
plan. They're gonna make a documentary. He's gonna go on Oprah. He's gonna do all the stuff and give his speech, and then you know what? He'll be on the circuit for a little while.
If he survives,
the entertainment.
If he really makes it, if he really bounces back,
they say he's doing better.
Yeah. But I mean, at some point he's got to be sober. He's got to get his life kind of back on track.
He needs to take the rehabilitation seriously, and then he can do all those things and kind of bounce back. You know, he's tried it before, right? I mean,
but has he ever been this?
No,
I don't know.
Like he wasn't almost. He was
unconscious. I mean, they found him in a brothel.
Right.
Like this is, I would say, the lowest of the low.
You know, I don't know any of the brothels.
I would say this is rock bottom.
I saw on this channel called HBO called The Bunny Ranch.
I'm so tired.
Same one.
I think it was.
Is there just one? So sorry, I don't. For context, is there just one brothel in Nevada?
The Bunny Ranch.
The most famous.
The most famous one is the Bunny Ranch.
Okay.
The only one
That's
was
what
going
they
to.
supposed to have.
The pristine.
I don't know.
The bunnies.
The best bunnies.
I'm cheap.
So speaking of tarnished reputations, we can move right along.
Nice segue. I cannot wait for you to say next.
To the Cosby cover.
Yo, yeah.
On Ebony.
Don't get me started.
Did everybody see the
For
Cosby
those
cover?
who have not seen it,
You need to just Google it. I'm going to pass it around right now.
Pass it right to
Ebony.
her because I don't want to see it.
I'm kind of pissed at you, Ebony.
I want to look.
I don't know.
I want you to look.
I know. I feel like
Oh,
I'm kind of
okay.
pissed at you.
Okay.
I am too.
Okay.
You know? Like,
Does it take away from the show? That's
Oh,
what-
okay.
No, I don't.
In the
Take
court of
away
public
from the
opinion,
show,
it totally
but-
takes away.
So the issue
it
hasn't.
shouldn't, but it is.
The issue hasn't been released yet. The part of the article that I read, which is available on online, it's basically just talking about the timing of the show in the very beginning. Clearly, it's going to be a very long article, but it's basically about how in 1984 the show started. It was in the midst of AIDS, you know, in black communities, and the war on drugs was almost getting started, and there's just a lot of like degrading things about black people in the news and the nature of things. And then Ebony, of all people, puts this cover up, and I was just like, how could they do this to us?
How and why?
How could they not?
Because they're not Essence, and
they not
they
put it
need
up?
to
They have no class.
sell.
No, it's not about class.
They need to sell magazines.
I mean,
and
well,
so they're gonna do the most provocative cover that they can do and sell out their own.
This is provocative?
No, but what it is,
I would expect
but
this
it's
from
definitely
Time. I would
provoking.
expect this
That's
from
what
the New
I
Yorker.
said. I was like, I thought I would
you know,
expect this
like,
from Time, but from Ebony.
Not from her.
Why?
Not from our
So
own.
what's the issue, guys? Because I'm not.
The
What's the
issue
issue?
for me is I just feel like, you know, he's already guilty in the court of public opinion.
Right.
And so
right.
what that is doing is sort of tearing down any sort of legacy he ever once had. Now, that is wrong. Rape in any sense, shape, or form is wrong. Absolutely. And let's try him accordingly, and let's go through the legal process to make sure he pays for what he did. However, you cannot negate or take away what that show did for.
I don't think.
Why would you put the whole cast on the
It's a
cover
character
when you're
assassination.
talking about Bill versus Cliff?
But
You put him on it.
But he represented something.
That's true.
Right.
Right.
Meaning, no, but
I
the
think
show
I
itself.
think this is asking the question of does this, because they have the crack, and the crack is specifically on his face,
Right.
and then the brunt of the force is on his face, and then
And
you
shatters
see the
everyone
shatters
else.
are here and there dispersed about the other of the cast. Like maybe it's hitting Denise a little bit, but not quite. It's hitting everybody else, but not quite. The shatter, and I think that's posing the question of has his issues, has what he's done completely just tarnished the name of the
Not even tarnished it, because our own networks took the Cosby Show off out of syndication before now.
Right.
Well before the deposition came out, where he admitted that he did do, you know,
He drugged the women.
He drugged the women and stuff. They took it off and immediately.
The article is called Cliffhanger: Can the Cosby Show Survive? Should it? And so I think it's
the issue in that.
I just don't think that there needs to be a character assassination of everyone. I just don't think. I think that the show itself represented something
that was greater than him.
It like opened up America's eyes to the fact that there is like a black middle class. That a lot of people, like white people, tuned in the show. I've done research, and like a lot of white people were like, oh wow, there's a black middle class. They're like classy black people. They had never seen that before. And so I think like the legacy is completely tarnished at this point. There are articles being written saying that Claire Huxtable like should no longer be like an American icon. No one should look to her as a mother, when really it's not her fault. It's Bill's fault.
And it's kind of, it's throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? Like, punish Bill. You know what I mean? Like, don't punish the legacy. Don't punish Felicia Rashad. Don't punish Raven. Like, for even all the crazy shit she says. But like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the legacy, let the legacy be separate from the person. You know what I mean? And I don't know.
And the show represented so much. So much positivity in the time. Exactly. And we For me, I felt some kind of way about this because we grew up watching before we had Blackish, before all Shonda came through and had all these multicultural shows.
Before In Living Color, before Martin.
Exactly. Like we had Cosby. Like that's one of the first black shows I remember watching growing up. And I think even in '84 versus the 2000s, like people still learn lessons from it. The show itself doesn't portray all these negative things that they're putting.
It's a culture curator.
My thing is hold them accountable. Yes, hold them accountable, but don't steal the things that are like precious to us. Like we have all these shit shows now that shows us in like the worst light ever. And I don't know, for Ebony to just be a part of that machine. Like
what if
I went to see
what if this same article was on Rolling Stone?
So I'd still be pissed.
I'd be pissed, but I would expect
it would be more.
But it's checking yourself. That's all they did. All they doing is checking and saying.
It looks to me that all they did was pose a question.
What is the article about?
But did anybody read the article?
The magazine hasn't been released yet. It's only the honestly, I read what's online,
which is a good point,
and it's just the beginning of It is a very valid point. I mean, it's just the beginning, literally introducing what the show was like. It's maybe 5-6 paragraphs, and it doesn't go through what they're really. The point doesn't get.
That's the point. Like,
so
what's the article
when you're
about?
in the grocery store and you're like a white person who's never read Ebony or anything like that, does the cover say, "I'm gonna pick this up and I'm going to buy it," or do they look at it and say, "Oh yes, see it validates everything about me." No, it does care because it's how they treat you.
Right.
It's how they treat you.
And they're the ones responsible for all the syndication.
But why do we pander to people because we expect them to treat us bad?
But one thing about it, go ahead.
I don't
Go ahead, Ms. Pope.
So this is my thing. I understand what everybody is saying here, but Bill Cosby is like that whole situation. When somebody sees that article, whether they are supporting the Cosby Show or just completely turned off from Bill Cosby and everything that he was associated with, I think that they might pick it up and they might read it. And so that's why I feel like, depending on what the article is saying, it could portray the same message that you're saying right here. And maybe the cover has to be outlandish so that a white person will pick it up and look at it.
But I thought she was going to say, and I guess the point I would maybe like piggyback off of what you initially said is that the fact that, this cover is released before the even story comes out, that's just a testament to like the salacious, nature of the publishing industry and marketing and getting people to talk about it before the article even comes out,
right?
Which is an issue.
It grabbed our attention.
Yeah,
my problem,
and that's purely the intent of this. Like, who knows if the article is written with ill intent or not?
Right. I think my biggest problem with it is you have Cosmo with the article with their cover of America's First Example, and it's the Kardashians, and then you have Ebony with the Cosbys and a broken glass on it. It's just like, what kind of message are we giving right now as a follow-up to, Cosmo in this? It just seems so contradictory for a black magazine to just, at least with the release of this cover, minus the article, blatantly kind of literally break what we know as a stable black
family. The family issues, Cosby versus Cliff. Bill Cosby is a real person.
Right.
Cliff is not.
Yeah.
Cliff is a person.
Cliff Huxtable is not a real person.
Make it about Bill.
I'm trying to specifically see what people have with, because the article hasn't came out, but I see people specifically have a problem with the cover and how it's portrayed. I really want to know what I want you to expound on that.
I think the fact that
I'm seeing what you're saying.
I think the fact that it's Ebony just hurts a little more.
Yeah.
Cliff is not.
I think it's the black.
What are they doing?
The black segregation.
I want y'all to be specific about that.
So I think historically, Ebony, Essence, and Jet are your resources of black upliftment.
Just the A1.
And when you see an image like this, where you have, the Cosby Show, which is nostalgic for most people in America who are alive right now, who have seen either syndications of it airing afterwards or actually were around when it was airing live or airing during that time. And it's just kind of disheartening to see damn, we all know he has that shit going on right now, but we all still have some type of memory that's positive and uplifting, and that's almost like something you want to reach and strive towards, that you kind of remember the Cosby Show for, whether you're relating to, Claire, whether you're relating to Vanessa, or like, somebody in there you can kind of relate to, whether it's your brother, your sister, yourself, your mom, your dad. Like, I think that's something that everybody can relate to. And if you want to see Ebony publish an article, you want to see them like say it in a more like, all right, we understand what Cosby's going through, but we want to talk about, like, this is what it did for a generation of people.
This cover takes away from their work.
It doesn't.
Right.
It does.
All you're looking at is the cover and extrapolating
what you want
from
a
it
picture
versus
of him.
what it is.
Right. Has what he done taken away from the show? That's what they're talking about.
I absolutely agree with you. I think this is posing the question. I mean, it has if the glass is shattered over his face, he was the patriarch of that family. His issues outside of the show, how does that affect people's image of the show?
Right.
And that's what they're
It makes you kind of think like, oh, all this is just a wash. That's how I look at it. Like, shoot, if he wasn't real, he's the one who produced, wrote, and starred in the show. It's like, well, I guess none of it's really real.
I don't think
that. Liar, rapist.
And honestly,
hopefully, what you're saying, Ms. Pope, is what the article will delve into.
I hope so. And if it's not, then we can rehash this in a month or whatever.
Right.
But I guess another thing that I'm saying is, like, I'm actually happy that Ebony would talk about this, because at least I would hope that they would frame the conversation in the right context. A Rolling Stone or any other white magazine, they're going to tear that show apart, and they're going to tie everything to the actions that Cosby has done.
I'd rather tell my own story than
Thank
allow
you.
somebody else to tell the
Thank
story.
you.
So you
So I get that. I don't feel like they're going to do that. And something in me feels like they're going to tear it down harder than anybody else.
Because of the way journalism has been going the past few years. I completely understand that.
That's my feeling. Like, I just feel like they're going to go so hard in tearing them down because that's what we like to do.
Yeah. Right. That's what
and I
sells
can
magazines.
see if that. I completely understand.
In a suffering publishing industry, that's what's going to sell magazines.
If you're reading the article, you already bought the magazine.
But that's not the first time. That's
I know it's not the first time. That's why I'm already like, I'm waiting for this.
And then the shit
how many times
you read
has
in
this
the
happened?
cover is nothing.
Right, like
Nothing
the
what
cover
you
or the
think
title.
It should be.
Well, let's hope.
So,
Let's hope.
Let's hope.
But I completely understand the issues. I just wanted you guys to get more specific about the issues that you had, because I want to really, really understand, because it's coming from a real place. It's coming from a place of pain. It's coming from a place of trauma. It's coming from a place of the media hurting us consistently and not listening to us and constantly tearing down what we have that brings us up.
Black celebrities are vilified maybe more so than white celebrities.
Of course.
Yes.
but what he kept doing is going out and telling black folks how they should behave.
Yes.
No, but
Right?
the Seventh Heaven guy did the same exact
Exactly.
thing.
And he
He's
was
not
a
facing
pedophile?
similar ramifications.
Yes.
He had an illicit affair with one person.
No,
he's a pedophile.
His wife even
pedophile.
turned on him.
Now does he get up and tell people how they should live their lives?
We don't know that, but what we
It
do
doesn't
know
matter.
is he's a
It doesn't
pedophile.
matter. But did he?
And being in that show, he tells people how to live their lives. Those are what those shows do.
Exactly.
Seventh Heaven.
As a Christian, as a pastor in the
Was he a
show.
pastor?
Yeah,
He was a
absolutely.
pastor.
And he was diddling.
And he does not get the same ramifications, but that's
No,
neither
he
here nor
not.
there.
There's plenty of comparisons to that. You have
that was
Mike.
it.
You have Mike Vick and Ben Roethlisberger, and there's a
Right.
huge disconnect between.
But he
the
killed
way
dogs.
There's a point to that.
Yeah, they hung him
Definitely a
for
point
dog
to that.
fighting
But they don't care about
versus
men that are
Big
raping
Ben
women.
raping women out here in the
Out here,
streets.
they don't get the same ramifications.
Children
Yeah.
who like can't speak up for themselves and
Right.
are traumatic.
So I'm just saying,
Hide your kids.
take it all with a grain of salt.
Don't do
Because
that.
there's always been a witch
Hide your
hunt for black
dog.
celebrities. We know this. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not excusing anything. Bill
No.
Cosby did.
And-
It's awful. It's wrong, and he should be punished 100%. But I do think scrutiny is high when it's a black celebrity.
I agree.
Scrutiny is
Scrutiny
higher.
is higher, yes.
Scrutiny is higher when it's that
No,
type of celebrity.
any black celebrity.
No.
No, I think any black celebrity.
No, Wayne, I'll tell you this. What's his name? Isaiah Washington.
Oh yeah.
When he called that
Praise
man, when he called that man a fag,
Yeah.
it went on, then it went off. Right?
But he was
He
fired
was gone.
that day.
But he was gone. Because Shonda Rhimes
know why he
said
was
that's not
fired,
that's not the kind of people we want around here. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Right? But it was there and it was gone.
He was
No, no,
Because he's
no.
small time. But you got again,
Cosby
Dr. Bill Cosby running around the country on a book tour, telling people how they should live their life.
Isaiah Washington was also fired.
It wasn't in the news, and he's still employed.
Different level, small peanuts.
Shaming people.
Shaming people.
Us to
Get
hell.
yourself shaming folks. Okay, you want to shame people? Open up the book. He brought that shit on himself. You got a big mouth. Everybody talking about. Yeah. Well, this is what I'm gonna do. And then what happened was he stopped paying people.
Which man?
Yeah. Bill Cosby.
Well,
he was paying people.
He was paying them women.
He was paying them women off.
Yeah.
The money. Then he cut them off. Maybe he thought he was gonna die. Hey, fuck it, I ain't gonna pay.
Oh my God.
I got to go.